down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are back for the second episode of our, fantasy football talk, I guess, is what we could say. This is the second episode this week. So we just did some breakouts the other day, and now we're jumping into our bust. Now, when I talk about bust, it's not guys that are going to bust the season. They're going to be trash because there's a lot of names on this list that people are drafting high. All I'm saying is, though, is these guys are going to, from where they are being drafted, they are not going to perform at where they are being drafted. One, for example, like what I'll say is this, for example, Davante Adams. Davante Adams is probably be, a mid-round pick, probably, the second or the third or fourth wide receiver taken in first, maybe late first, early second round. I do not think he fits up in that spot at all due to the change of location and the downgrading quarterback. Stuff like that. Do I think he's going to still be, do I still think he's going to challenge for a top 12 spot? Obviously. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm drafting him. If I'm going to draft him, I'm going to wait till he drops out of that, early second and maybe falls down to the later into the second, early third round.
Do you think he's going to have like a huge drop off? Carr is a pretty accurate quarterback. We've seen that in the past. Very efficient. I know Rodgers, he can chuck it with accuracy a lot deeper down the field, but Adams was always good in those crossing middle routes, and I could see a lot of that in Oakland. And do you think there's going to be a massive drop off, or more catches, maybe less yards, or what do you think?
I think the touchdowns is going to be regress because there's a lot more people around him now too. Let's take a look at who did he always play with? This is number one, the best I guess receivers he does have on the playing with him. All he ever really had was Lazard. You had, MVS, you had Robert Tonyan. Now you go up and you got, one of the best slot receivers in the league in Renfro. And then you got Waller, and then you got Adams, and you still got, Josh Jacobs and stuff in the backfield. I'm just more concerned with the fact that, Carr, isn't Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying that Carr is not going to be. Carr can't finish as a top 15 quarterback because obviously, like you just mentioned, his efficiency, right? So, but I just think, if you look at touchdown percent, touchdown rates, you could go from Aaron Rodgers was more close to a 7%, touchdown rate guy. And, Carr's only logged about 4%, just over 4%. Yeah. So in the last 3 years. So that's a huge drop off when you got to think about that as far as touchdowns thrown. Now, so like I said, that's what I kind of mean by all of it. If I have a chance to draft Adams, I'm thinking about it, but there's maybe a few other guys that I kind of do like. I think have a little bit more, we know the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jefferson, stuff like that are up there. So those are the guys that I'm going to be looking at a little bit more. Yeah. With that, but like I said, the first guy here, prime example, we'll talk about. A name, Damian Harris. Technically the RB1 in New England. He's ranked right now as, the 31st ranked running back and being drafted in the, mid sixth round. Now, I understand he had 15 touchdowns yesterday, 15 touchdowns on 202 carries last season. But let's take a look at what happened toward the end of the year. You got Ramondre Stevenson stepped in. That was a full-blown committee at that point. Toward the end of last year, we saw Stevenson have a bunch of big games. And now when it comes to passing downs, somebody's going to have to step up in that game, and it ain't Harris. We've seen Harris. He's not a pass catcher. That's where I think Stevenson's going to be able to get a little bit more touches. That's why I do feel as though there's going to be a huge touchdown regression and touches in general for Harris. That's why I'm not reaching for him anywhere near probably, maybe if he falls into the 8th round as my, my RB4, maybe if I do need one, but I'm not trusting him any more than as a top 30 running back. I think I have him ranked right now as my RB42.
I think with
Stevenson way higher.
Yeah, Stevens is the man there, and you've seen it last year when he was healthy and in there. Like Stevenson, he can be that every down back. I don't think we've seen that out of Harris, and he breaks down too often as well.
Exactly. Do you have a
All
guy?
right,
Yeah, give me a guy.
I got a guy who has done nothing but be a top 12 quarterback his entire career, and I think that this year we're going to finally see him drop to that under 15 to 20 range. That's Tom the Bomb Brady. At 43, I think it's time. I think it's time we finally see a little regression on this guy. He doesn't have his homie this Gronkowski there this year. Godwin's coming off that big significant injury. And I just don't I mean you think at some point the wheels are going to fall off. I mean, if he goes 4,000 plus and 30 scores this year, I will be amazed, because I'm 40 and I can't even get out of this chair.
Fair enough. I do see some. Where did you say you said you see him falling out of the top 20?
He's been top 12. Oh,
Top
I think
12.
he'll fall to like around the 17 to 20 range.
I do think he still finishes top 15. I do
That's
like
where
the
that's where he's usually drafted too.
yeah.
Is that 17 to 20 range, and then he outperforms his draft position almost every single friggin' year. But I think this year he's gonna get maybe drafted at the right position, like that 20 range, and that's where he'll be at.
As far as average draft position goes for on Fantasy Pros, Brady is currently going as the
12.
late eighth. He's ranked the ninth QB right now. That's consensus, and he's being drafted in as late eighth round.
Yeah.
So to me, if you look at if you don't mind, if we can, we'll do this in two different parts here. If you want to talk about difference as far as quarterbacks going, where they're being drafted, let's take a look. I'm going to throw a guy in here, and I'm not saying he's going to be bust because we've seen this guy perform like crazy. Let's talk about Josh Allen for a second here. Number one ranked quarterback right now, being drafted early second round.
Yeah.
Now, if you break down his numbers from last year, I mean, he outscored Brady by a half a point per game, and that's it. A half a point per game. And Brady went several rounds later last year. So do you want to waste a spot? Do you want to waste a spot and take a guy like Josh Allen in the early second round, or do you want to draft another, positional player, or do you want to draft a guy like Tom Brady in the eighth round where you're going to get similar kind of not similar production, but you're going to get basically top 10 production out of him weekly, most weeks we'll say.
You really got to weigh the risks, because Josh Allen, he's a lock. He's a lock every week. And Brady, like I said, because he's so old. I mean, last year he had the most passing attempts of his career at 42 years old, with 719. They were trying to empty the tank on this guy because they probably thought it was going to be his last year. And now he's back after a year like that. At 42 years old, you'd think he'd have some regression, because he's beat up and his arm has got to fall off his body at some time.
He's a different beast, man. He's a different beast.
I know he is.
He's on a TB12 diet, baby. Like, this guy's ready to rock and roll.
Putting up those numbers at for the last 3 years that he's done, like that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So now it's 43 years old. And after coming off a year where you threw everything that your arm could ever, like the most ever, and so that would, although you're if you get him in the eighth round, I mean, that's the risk right there. Is you're picking Allen way earlier, you're blowing one of those top picks, but if you trust in Brady, I would wait. But yeah. I think you're either on one side with Brady or on the other side. So, I mean, if you don't like Brady and you don't think he's going to be good this year because he's old balls like me, then take Allen. But if you like Brady, I would wait. If you think he can do it again, I would honestly wait. Because, like you said, if he goes over 4,030 scores again, that's fantasy. That's a lot of fantasy points, and that's enough to
and the
put up
production
good
you're going to
numbers for you.
get from that positional player that you drafted, say where you would have to draft a guy like Josh Allen in the second round, right? The beginning of the second round. So that's just where I am. I would rather wait. I would rather wait even, even wait go another round or maybe even two and go get a Justin Herbert or a Patrick Mahomes or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think those guys are better values at where they're being drafted. So one guy I talk about, Kyle Pitts, right now as of now ranked as a tight end 3, average draft positions at the beginning of the third round. Now that's concerning to me, to be honest with you. I'm not reaching that high. We've talked about this many times. There's a handful of tight ends. Let's be realistic. Right now, as far as production goes, there's one tight end that I would reach for high, and that's Travis Kelce. Agreed? I mean,
what do you mean reach for high?
I mean, not reach for high, but draft first. All the time is going to be Travis Kelce, and I'll take him in the second round. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to take Kyle Pitts in early in the third round for the simple fact is this. I mean, he did have over 1,000 yards or 1,000 yards last year. What was that? 1 touchdown or is it 0? I think it was 1 touchdown he had. Now you got Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder that are going to be either one of those guys throwing in passes. That's concerning to me. I mean, one's a rookie, and Mariota we've seen him do a few things, nothing magical, but as far as I think both those guys are a downgrade from what Matt Ryan was from last year, and I just think he's going to miss his average draft position again. I think I would sooner, in all honesty, go after a guy like Dustin Schultz, that's being drafted like 30 plus picks later in drafts, especially with the loss of Amari Cooper up in Dallas. I think Schultz is a much better value, and you're getting him 3, 4, 5 rounds later in the 8th round. Kind of a similar situation as like a Tom Brady.
Well, sometimes when we see these, Matt Ryan, he's a second level thrower. He likes to get it downfield. But Mariota, he doesn't really have much of that deep ball threat, and I think that it could actually benefit Pitts a little bit because he could see a lot of those underneath throws even more so than he did with Ryan.
Yeah, see, I thought about that as well. But if you look at his past production as far as tight ends really went, he hasn't really used them very often. He, like a lot of guys use that, like as they say, the tight end is a security blanket. He never really did that because of his legs, right? If he got in trouble, he was rushing the ball. He was running the ball. So, I mean, you can look at it either way. But like I said, when I'm looking at value when I'm drafting, and I'm not saying Pitts doesn't have talent. I mean, the kid's an athlete. What I'm saying is I always I go for the guys that are at the best value at that time.
Yeah.
Especially with the tight end position. Tight end position is hard, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's such a drop off of talent. So I mean, if I gotta go for a guy like Pitts in the third round, like I said, I'd rather wait, almost a double digit rounds to draft, say my first tight end or second tight end. I've always drafted that way as well. I've never really had a Kelce or a Kittle or any of these, Mark Andrews. I had Mark Andrews 1 year, but that's when he wasn't really in anybody, and I got him in a late round, right? So,
yeah, if you don't get your hands, like you said, on those top 3 guys, I like to get at least one of those guys in the tier 2, though.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So
usually when you see the tight end in that tier 2 go, it's a fire sale. So you better grab them this round or coming back the next round because you won't get them, right?
Fair enough. Give me another guy.
Okay, a guy we touched base on in our last episode was the Cowboys backfield, and I I think that we're going to see Zeke take a step back from in his backfield. Pollard, he's the pass catching back, which is what you want in your fantasy backfield. And I think Elliott, his game looks to be on the decline, especially like I said, as a receiver. His pass protection skills help his chances to stay on the field more. But the Cowboys have they got Pollard, and he's going to eat away at Elliott's chances over the long haul of the season, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I like Pollard as a breakout candidate. I don't think that Zeke is going to be that bad, though. I mean, he's on his last year of his rookie contract too, is he not? Or did he get an extension? Either way, Zeke's. This is a make it or break a year for Zeke. Like, let's be real. If he doesn't perform early on, I mean, we could see him getting traded, or B, we could see him playing out the year and then them just not re-signing him or cutting him, right? Or trading him in the offseason to somebody.
Like, he's probably going to get drafted, I'd say, like, if you're in a 12-team league, like, probably late third round, around there. I don't think he's going to live up to that draft position, though. I think he's I really like Pollard. That's why I like Pollard, and it's tough for Zeke because I still think he can run the ball, but with Pollard stepping up and showing what he's done the last couple of years, I think that Zeke's in a tough spot right now. If he falters anything, I think Pollard's just going to eat up that number one spot.
Yeah, Zeke's being drafted in, the early third round, like you just mentioned. So I would have to agree with that, though. I mean, I would rather have I'd rather have guys that are going in later rounds, like a J.K. Dobbins, even a Breece Hall. Breece Hall is going almost 2 rounds later.
Would you draft Pollard? Where would you draft Pollard?
Well, if I could get him at his draft position right now, I mean, let's see how far. Like he's down. Sorry, I'm just kind of firing through. I did actually have all this stuff written down because I'm really high on Pollard this year. Very high on Pollard.
Like the catches are going to get this guy some big fantasy points this year.
So right now, here's a prime. Here's what would you do? Would you take would you reach for a Zeke in the third? Or here, let's go this way. Okay, so Zeke's getting drafted in the third round. Would you take? You tell me where to stop, okay? For me, because this is who I'm taking over him. I would take a J.K. Dobbins over him, a Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell.
This is all over Zeke.
This is over Zeke.
Breece Hall, eh?
Yeah. Because I'll wait 2 extra rounds. That's okay. So you're basically saying, I'm taking J.K.
This is
Dobbins.
redraft?
This is
redraft league?
Yeah, redraft league. So J.K. as of right now, I am taking, like I said, J.K. Dobbins, maybe even a Travis Etienne over Zeke, only because I'm saying that he's going to outperform him. I'm saying I would rather take another positional player in that third round pick, and I would rather wait the 2 rounds to pick a J.K. Dobbins or a Breece Hall.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, as far as Pollard goes, I mean, I'm all day. I'll take him. I'll take him in the 8th round all day.
Oh,
if he
for
can,
sure.
If he falls to the 8th round, he will be on every one of my teams.
Yeah. See, I don't think he should be that far behind Zeke.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like Zeke up there, you're gonna almost like you should like Pollard better. I mean,
Zeke is right now considered consensus. He's the RB 18 in fantasy, and Pollard is 32. So, I mean, and you want to talk overall? That's 30th overall to the 79th overall. So, I mean, that's a big drop.
Pollard, we could see Pollard be one of the biggest breakouts of the season this year.
I agree. Another guy that I'm not high on this year, because I mean everyone's going to look at him and look at what his numbers were last year, is let's talk about our boy Joe Burrow. I mean, 10th ranked quarterback right now. Being drafted in the late fifth round. Take a look at his ADP, is crazy because I mean, you look at look at what his yards per attempt was last year, 8.9. That's going to fall off, I would think. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of those yardage came late in the season when we saw Jamar Chase break out. Now, if you want to look at it as far as consensus goes, he's going like 10 or 11 picks before Jalen Hurts. Probably 12 to 13 picks before Dak, and 30 picks, once again, ahead of Tom Brady. Now, are you taking Burrow at his position, or once again, are you just going to wait to take one of these other guys? I personally like Hurts, Dak, and Brady over Burrow this year. As far as I would take him over Burrow this year.
I disagree. I think Burrow is going to be the top ranked quarterback this season.
Top ranked,
number one.
Oh fuck! What are we betting now? Hey, how about this? How about you take my kids for one night, buddy? That's it, one night. And we're just going to start betting kids, man.
I think he's going to take a step forward this year, and I know it's tough.
I say zero chance he takes a step forward.
Why? I mean, both his receivers are amazing, and they're just going to grow and get better together. They're both young. Like, this whole team should take a step forward. Like,
you preach this every single year. They got tape. Yeah, they got tape on Burrow now. They got tape on Burrow now. Did they really shore up their O-line that much better than what he had last year? Are they not going to take away guys? Are they?
They brought in 3 Pro Bowl linemen. They're protecting this guy now.
All right, I disagree. I don't think. Number one, you think he's going to finish ahead of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes?
I think he's going to compete. He's going to compete with those guys better. I think that it's going to be a closer race between those 3 guys, and you can honestly throw a dart at a board for which one's going to take the fantasy crown. With Chase and Higgins,
Burrow finishes outside the top 10 this year.
Top 10, really?
Outside the top 10. He was QB9 per game last year. I think he's going to fall outside the top 10.
What episode is this? 118? 117 and 118. We got 2 bets. Did we make a bet last episode?
I can't remember. We may have. It was kind of like, I think we started
making this one. There's
definitely.
Absolutely no way. There's no way.
Outside the top 10,
There's no way.
I'll take your little lingo. Book it. How about that?
I didn't bring up that lingo.
Outside the top 10.
Well, that's preposterous.
Hey, is that a hot take then, I guess?
That's a hot take. That is a hot take.
Perfect.
It's also sort of a hot take saying that he's going to be number 1. I think that's
a bigger hot take.
No way. No way. He's definitely finishing top 5. Like, he's got to finish top 5 with a full healthy season.
No.
Full healthy season. He's top 5. He's top 5.
Right. I say he's outside the top 10.
Outside top 10 is like stupid. Just stupid.
All right. Well, fair enough. Do you have another one?
Yeah. One more guy. AJ Brown. Playing with the Eagles right now. He ranks 10th at the wide receiver position for the most part. He does bring an exciting combination of scoring and big play ability, but Philadelphia is one of those run first defense that's not running anywhere. And I think that we're going to see some big games from him when Philly is down. But in those games that Philly likes to control the ball, like anybody who has had a Philly receiver in the last 10 years, you got like 7 games in the season where these guys do absolutely nothing. And I think A.J. Brown is going to be one of those guys. Every second game, he might put up big numbers, but he's going to have those games where he doesn't do nothing. I don't even think he's going to break the 1,000-yard mark this year.
This is where I agree with you finally on something. I mean, I would rather have.
Hey, the fans aren't going to like that.
No, as of right now, I could list off 5 guys that I would have ahead of AJ Brown this year.
I'm staying away from him.
Where they're being drafted.
I'm out.
Keenan Allen being one of them, Jalen Waddle, Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin, and let's go with the DJ Moore. I would take them over AJ Brown from where he's being drafted. AJ Brown right now is going late into the second round. There is no way I am taking him. He's currently the wide receiver 11. There's no way that I am taking him in the it'd be close to the middle of the second round.
No.
I would rather have, like I said, Keenan Allen. You know, Michael Pittman's going almost a
We
round
get
and a
better
half
value,
later.
much better value out of all those guys.
Exactly. I mean, you want to even reach even more. I'll take a Brandon Cooks over AJ Brown. I'm not high on AJ Brown because of the fact, like you mentioned, it's such a run-heavy offense. I do like Hurts this year, but I also think that we're going to see a lot more rushing attempts from Hurts, and I think he's still going to find. I mean, you still got Devonta Smith there, who he has chemistry with. You got Dallas Goedert there. You still got Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell. All those guys are pass catchers. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, and I think AJ Brown is definitely not going to live up to his wide receiving 11 ranking.
Hear ye.
So, all right. Well, how do you think that went? I thought that was pretty smooth.
That was great.
Sweet. All right. Well, then let's get back at it again next week and kind of go from there, buddy. Let's try to put some consistent shows out for these peeps that have stuck around with us, after not having a show for like 3 months. So
yeah.
And I was honest when I said we're going to start betting on our kids. So there you go. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for sticking around. Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you jump on, subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot more content on that. Leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you can. It obviously helps us in the rankings. And outside of that, H, pleasure talking to you, brother. We'll talk soon.
Always.
Peace.
Peace.